First Contact's Price. High Admiral Vexthor of the Vrax Dominion stood aboard the bridge of the Eternal Conquest, his flagship's holographic displays painting his scaled skin in shades of blue and green. The Earth system lay before him, a seemingly insignificant dot in the vast expanse of space. His mandibles clicked in anticipation as he reviewed the preliminary scans of the system's defenses. "Primitive," he muttered, his secondary heart beating slowly with confidence, as expected from a species that achieved FTL travel mere decades ago. His executive officer, Sub-Commander Releth, approached with a data crystal. "High Admiral, our deep space probes have completed their analysis of the human defensive grid." "Proceed with the report," Vexthor commanded, his four eyes fixed on the holographic representation of Earth's orbital space. "The humans have established basic orbital platforms around their homeworld and colonies on their fourth planet. Our initial estimates suggest their technology is at least 3 centuries behind Dominion standards." However, Ryleth hesitated. "Speak freely, Sub-Commander. There's something odd about their deployment patterns. They're not following any recognized defensive doctrine. The platforms seem almost randomly placed." Vexthor dismissed the concern with a wave of his upper arm. "Inexperience. They probably don't even understand proper orbital mechanics yet. Prepare the first contact protocols. Let's show these newcomers how the galaxy really works." The Eternal Conquest led a fleet of 30 vessels toward Earth's orbit, their sleek forms resembling predatory fish from the Vrax homeworld. As per standard procedure, they maintained active scanning shields, but kept their weapon systems powered down, a show of peaceful intentions that doubled as a display of technological superiority. After all, only primitive species needed to keep their weapons primed at all times. The first sign that something was wrong came when they crossed the outer marker of Earth's defense grid. Their sensors detected no power signatures from the orbital platforms, no active scanning, nothing that would indicate a functional defensive network. "High Admiral," the sensor officer called out, "we're detecting unusual gravitational fluctuations." Before Vexthor could respond, space itself seemed to ripple. What they had assumed were defunct orbital platforms suddenly shimmered and vanished, revealing massive warships that had been hiding in plain sight. The humans had somehow managed to bend light and gravity around their vessels, making them appear as harmless defensive platforms. "Impossible," Vexthor breathed. "No species has successfully developed practical stealth technology for capital ships." The human vessels were unlike anything in the Dominion's database, where Vrax ships were elegant and streamlined. These were angular and robust, covered in overlapping plates of armor. They bristled with weapon systems that showed no energy signatures until they powered up simultaneously, like predators revealing their teeth. A communication request pinged across all frequencies. The holographic display materialized to show a human female in a dark uniform adorned with gold insignia. Her expression was calm, almost serene, but her eyes held the look of a veteran warrior. "This is Admiral Helena Chen of the Earth Defense Force. You have entered sovereign human space without authorization. Your scan of our defense grid constitutes an act of military surveillance. Power down your engines and prepare to be escorted to a diplomatic checkpoint, or we will consider this an hostile act." Vexthor's pride got the better of him. "We are the Vrax Dominion. We have ruled the stars since before your species discovered fire. You dare to..." Admiral Chen cut him off with a slight wave of her hand. "You have 30 seconds to comply. We've already mapped every weakness in your shield configuration. Your scanning shields might be impressive, but they have a vulnerability at the junction points. Rather basic design flaw. Really." The sensor officer's voice shook as he reported, "High Admiral, they're right. They've already established targeting solutions for every ship in our fleet. Their weapons, they're using some kind of quantum-locked targeting system. I've never seen anything like it." Vexthor realized his mistake too late. The humans hadn't developed their technology along the same path as other species. They hadn't started with peaceful exploration and gradually developed military capabilities. They had prepared for war from the beginning, assuming the galaxy would be hostile. "Power down all systems," he commanded, his pride bitter in his throat. "Initiate diplomatic protocols." As his ships complied, he watched the human vessels maintain their perfect formation. They moved with practiced precision, every angle covered, every possible attack vector accounted for. These weren't the actions of an inexperienced species. This was the product of thousands of years of warfare, translated into 3 dimensions. The humans hadn't just reached for the stars with hope and curiosity. They had reached for them with caution, determination, and preparation. The galaxy had expected primitive explorers and found warrior philosophers instead. As the Earth Defense Force ships escorted them to the diplomatic checkpoint, Vex Thor began composing his report to the Dominion Council. How could he explain that the newest spacefaring race had outmaneuvered them so completely? How could he make them understand that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology, but their perspective? The humans hadn't tried to copy the standard galactic approach to space warfare. They had taken their own bloody history, their own hard-learned lessons, and applied them to the stars. They hadn't built their defenses to match existing doctrine. They had built them to survive anything the galaxy might throw at them. First contact had come at a price, the shattering of the Vrax Dominion's assumptions about humanity. As Vex Thor watched Earth grow larger in his view screen, he wondered how many other species would make the same mistake of underestimating these newcomers to the galactic stage. The art of human warfare. Captain Sarah Martinez stood at the holographic training simulator aboard the EDF Prometheus, watching as junior officers studied the aftermath of the Vrax encounter. The massive circular chamber displayed a perfect recreation of the first contact scenario, with trainee commanders calling out observations and tactical analyses. "Look at their formation," Lieutenant Wong pointed out, his hand gesturing through the hologram of the Vrax fleet. They arranged their ships in a perfect theta pattern, tactically sound by conventional standards, but predictable. Martinez finished. The Vrax, like most galactic powers, developed their space combat doctrine from scratch. They had no frame of reference except their own discoveries. Humanity had something different, thousands of years of naval warfare experience. The simulation shifted, showing the moment when Earth's defensive fleet revealed itself. The human ships had been arranged in what appeared to be chaos to alien eyes, but any naval historian would have recognized elements of ancient submarine warfare tactics adapted for 3-dimensional space. The Vrax made a critical mistake, Martinez continued, pacing around the hologram. They assumed technological superiority equals tactical superiority. But humanity's greatest weapon has never been our technology. It's our ability to adapt and innovate. The doors to the simulation chamber hissed open as Admiral Chen entered. The trainees snapped to attention, but she waved them at ease with a casual gesture. "At ease. Captain Martinez, I hope you don't mind me joining your class. I believe this lesson is particularly relevant given our current situation." Martinez nodded respectfully. "Of course, Admiral. We were just discussing the psychological impact of our defensive strategies." "Good." Chen stepped into the hologram, her figure seeming to merge with the tactical display. "Because the Vrax Dominion has been very busy since our encounter. Our deep space sensors have detected increased military activity in 3 neighboring sectors. They're studying us, trying to understand our capabilities." The Admiral manipulated the holographic controls, bringing up new tactical data. "What they don't understand is that we've been studying them too." "Lieutenant Wong, what do you notice about their ship designs?" Wong stepped forward, analyzing the detailed scans of Vrax vessels. "Their ships are built around their shields, Admiral. Every weapon system, every power distribution node, it all feeds into maintaining their defensive barrier. They've clearly evolved their technology around the assumption that shields are the primary defense in space." "Exactly." Chen smiled. "And what's the fundamental flaw in that assumption?" A young ensign raised her hand. "They've never faced an enemy who could bypass their shields entirely." "Precisely. The Admiral brought up schematics of Earth's latest weapon systems. Humanity looked at space combat differently. We asked ourselves, what if shields fail? What if they're bypassed? What if we need to fight in atmosphere, or in asteroid fields, or near solar flares? We built redundancy upon redundancy, because Earth's military history taught us that no single defensive system is foolproof. Martinez watched her students' faces as understanding dawned. The human fleet's design philosophy wasn't just about technology. It was about survival at any cost. Every human warship was built to fight on, even when heavily damaged, to adapt to changing battlefield conditions, to survive scenarios that alien vessels never contemplated. The Vraks and other species see our ships as over-engineered, Chen continued. They don't understand why we need atmospheric capabilities on deep space vessels, or why we install manual backup systems when I could handle everything. They see it as primitive, inefficient. She paused, her expression hardening. They're wrong. The hologram shifted again, showing a theoretical battle scenario. Our intelligence suggests the Vraks are preparing for a show of force. They want to prove that our first contact was a fluke, that their superior technology will prevail in a real engagement. They still don't understand what they're dealing with. Martinez stepped forward. Admiral, the latest reports from our quantum entanglement network confirm our suspicions. The Vraks are gathering a fleet 3 times the size of their first contact group. They're bringing their newest ships, their best commanders. Chen's smile turned predatory. And they're falling right into our trap. The tactical display updated, showing the positioning of Earth's hidden defense platforms throughout the sector. Not the decoys the Vraks had detected before, but the real ones, automated weapon platforms disguised as asteroids, quantum mines that could disable shields without triggering standard detection systems, and gravitational manipulators that could turn space itself into a weapon. The art of human warfare isn't about having the best technology, Chen addressed the room. It's about using what you have in ways your enemy never expects. The Vraks think they're preparing for the last war. We're preparing for the next one. As the training session concluded, Martinez held back one of her students who seemed troubled. Something on your mind, Ensign? Ma'am, aren't we proving them right? About humans being warriors rather than explorers. Martinez considered the question carefully. Humanity dreams of peace, Ensign. We build gardens on our warships, carry seeds from Earth to every colony, and our first priority in any system is establishing diplomatic contact. But Earth's history taught us that peace must be protected. We're not warriors because we want to be. We're warriors because we understand the price of being unprepared. As she watched the young officer leave, Martinez turned back to the tactical display. Somewhere out there, the Vraks were preparing for what they thought would be a glorious victory. They still hadn't learned the most important lesson about humanity. We don't fight to prove our superiority. We fight to survive, to protect, to ensure that our dreams of peace have a chance to become reality. Operation Thunderstrike. The vast expanse of space between Jupiter and Saturn's orbit had become a chessboard. Admiral Chen watched from the bridge of the EDF Prometheus as the massive Vraks fleet emerged from hyperspace exactly where intelligence had predicted. 90 warships, their hull plates gleaming with an iridescent sheen that spoke of technological superiority, arranged themselves in an attack formation that any military theorist would have called perfect. They're executing a standard Dominion war pattern, Captain Martinez observed from her tactical station. 3-layered defense, overlapping fields of fire, textbook deployment. Chen nodded, her eyes never leaving the tactical display. And that's exactly why they're going to lose. Execute Operation Thunderstrike. All ships initiate battlefield protocols. Throughout Earth's fleet, crews that had trained for this moment sprang into action. Unlike the Vraks ships with their highly automated systems, human vessels operated on a hybrid model. I handled the complex calculations, but human intuition made the crucial decisions. It was inefficient by alien standards, and that was precisely the point. The Vraks commander's hologram materialized on the bridge. High Admiral Vexthor had been replaced by Supreme Commander Zarkax, a veteran of a dozen campaigns against other spacefaring races. His scales had darkened with age, and his eyes held the confidence of one unaccustomed to defeat. "This is your only warning," Zarkax announced. "The Vrax Dominion has maintained peace in this sector for 10,000 years. Submit to our authority, and your species will be granted protectorate status. Resist, and we will demonstrate why no race has successfully defied us in 50 generations." Chen's response was to cut the transmission. "All ships, execute pattern Sierra 9. Quantum mines, active." The space between the fleets erupted in a dance of light and shadow. The quantum mines, which the Vrax had dismissed as simple debris, activated simultaneously. They didn't explode. They imploded, creating microsecond gravitational distortions that played havoc with the precise shield harmonics of Vrax vessels. "Their shields are fluctuating," Martins reported. 20% of their fleet showing power distribution problems. "They're adapting, but slower than simulations predicted. Launch the Ghosts." From hidden bays and asteroids that had been hollowed out and converted into stealth bases decades before humanity announced its presence to the galaxy, small ships emerged. They were barely larger than fighter craft, but they carried a weapon that had never been used in space combat before: electromagnetic pulse generators reverse-engineered from studies of solar flares. The Vrax fleet's formation began to waver as their perfectly synchronized shield grid encountered interference patterns it had never been designed to handle. Their response was predictable. They launched fighters of their own, spreading their forces to engage what they assumed was a conventional attack. "They're still thinking in terms of traditional space combat," Chen noted. "Captain, initiate Phase 2. The real battle began not with an exchange of energy weapons or missile salvos, but with a fundamental shift in the battlefield itself. The gravitational manipulators, hidden in what appeared to be routine sensor buoys, activated. They didn't target the Vrax ships directly. Instead, they created layers of distorted space, turning the vacuum into an analog of Earth's deep ocean currents. Vrax ships, designed for the predictable physics of space, found themselves pushed and pulled by forces their navigational computers couldn't properly compensate for. Human vessels, their designs influenced by submarine warfare, rode these artificial currents like sailors of old, using the chaotic environment to their advantage. "Sir," Martinez called out, "the Vrax fleet is fragmenting into defensive clusters. Their formation's breaking down. Now they learn why we built our ships the way we did," Chen said quietly. "All vessels, weapons free. Execute attack pattern Hydra." The Earth fleet split into smaller task forces, each operating semi-independently, but coordinating through quantum-entangled communications that the Vrax couldn't detect, let alone interrupt. Where alien forces sought to regroup and concentrate their firepower, they found only void. Where they tried to establish defensive positions, they faced attacks from multiple vectors simultaneously. Zarkax's voice cut through the command channel again, this time with less composure. "What manner of warfare is this? You fight like barbarians, without honor or proper form." "We fight to win," Chen responded simply, then cut him off again. "Status report. Their fleet's at 60% combat effectiveness," Martins reported. "They're trying to adapt to our gravitational warfare, but their ships don't have the structural flexibility to handle these conditions. We've got them cornered using their own assumptions against them." The battle reached its turning point when the Vrax finally attempted their species' signature maneuver, a concentrated shield wall formation designed to overwhelm any opposition with pure defensive power. Under normal circumstances, it would have been nearly invincible. But these weren't normal circumstances. The gravitational eddies created by Earth's hidden technology meant their ships couldn't maintain the precise positioning required. More importantly, they had fallen for the oldest trick in human military history. They had allowed their opponent to choose the battlefield. "They're trying to retreat," Martinez announced. "Their hyperspace drives are spooling up, but the gravitational distortions are making it difficult for them to calculate safe jump trajectories. Chen stood from her command chair. Open a channel to Supreme Commander Zarkax. The Vrak's commander appeared, his scales now pale with stress or fear. Before he could speak, Chen delivered her message. Your fleet is trapped in a battlefield of our making, fighting a type of war you never prepared for. You have two choices: surrender and open genuine diplomatic relations with Earth, or discover exactly how many more surprises we've prepared. The silence that followed was broken only by the distant thunder of battle, transmitted through hull vibrations as energy weapons continued to flash between the fleets. Finally, Zarkax spoke, his voice heavy with realization. You could have deployed these weapons at first contact. You could have destroyed our initial expedition. Why didn't you? Because humanity doesn't seek war, Commander. We prepare for it. We excel at it when forced. But we always prefer peace. Your ships will be allowed to leave once you sign a non-aggression treaty and acknowledge Earth's sovereign status. Those are our terms. As the Vrak's fleet powered down their weapons, Chen turned to her bridge crew. Send word to Earth. Tell them Operation Thunderstrike was a success, but remind them of what we discussed. This wasn't about proving our superiority. It was about earning our place among the stars. Sometimes the best way to avoid future wars is to demonstrate exactly why starting one would be a mistake. The battle was over, but its implications would echo through the galaxy. Humanity had proven not just their military capabilities, but their fundamental approach to warfare itself. They hadn't just defeated the Vraks, they had revolutionized space combat by refusing to play by the established rules. As debris from damaged ships drifted through the artificial currents of the battlefield, Chen wondered how many other species would need similar demonstrations before they understood. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their tactics, but their ability to imagine new ways of solving old problems. The diplomatic dance, the grand assembly of the Galactic Conclave, buzzed with activity. Representatives from 200 spacefaring civilizations gathered in the massive crystalline chamber, their voices a cascade of whistles, clicks, and synthesized translations. At the center of attention stood Earth's diplomatic delegation, led by Ambassador Marcus Chen, Admiral Helena Chen's brother. The humans had chosen this moment carefully. 3 standard galactic months after Operation Thunderstrike, with the Vrak's Dominion's defeat still fresh in everyone's memory, Earth had petitioned for full membership in the Conclave. It was unprecedented. Most species waited centuries after achieving FTL capability before daring such a move. Ambassador Chen stood at the speaker's podium, his calm demeanor masking the intensity of the moment. The chamber's acoustic architecture carried his voice clearly to every corner without technological assistance, a deliberate choice to demonstrate human adaptability to alien environments. Distinguished representatives, he began, Earth comes before you not as supplicants, but as equals. The recent conflict with the Vrak's Dominion was regrettable but enlightening. It demonstrated not only humanity's capability to defend itself, but also our commitment to peaceful resolution when possible. From the upper tiers, Ambassador Catal of the Meridian Collective raised her crystalline appendage. The human delegation speaks of peace, yet their military capabilities suggest extensive preparation for war. How do you reconcile these contradictions? Marcus allowed himself a small smile. With respect, Ambassador, I suggest this represents not a contradiction, but a deep understanding of history. Humanity's philosophy has been shaped by our experiences. Peace through strength, diplomacy through preparedness. The chamber erupted in overlapping translations as various species debated among themselves. From his position near the podium, Marcus could see the political alliances shifting in real time. The Vrak's representatives sat in uncharacteristic silence, their recent treaty with Earth having fundamentally altered their position in galactic politics. Ambassador Xyril of the technocratic system spoke next, their mechanical body humming with barely contained energy. Our analysis of human military technology reveals numerous inefficiencies. Your ships carry redundant systems, atmospheric capability, even organic food production facilities. This suggests a fundamental misunderstanding of space warfare optimization. Or perhaps, Marcus countered, it suggests a different understanding altogether. Humanity doesn't optimize for a single type of conflict because we don't believe in making assumptions about how, where, or when we might need to fight or survive. The debate continued for hours as species after species raised questions, concerns, and occasionally thinly veiled threats. Marcus noticed how the chamber had subtly divided. Younger spacefaring races showed more openness to human ideas, while ancient civilizations seemed threatened by humanity's rapid rise. During a brief recess, Marcus met with his advisory team in a private chamber. The walls were lined with quantum-dampening fields, a gift from the Meridian Collective that everyone pretended didn't double as surveillance technology. "They're scared," Dr. Sarah Wong, Earth's sinopolitical analyst, observed. "Not just of our military capabilities, but of what we represent. We're appending thousands of years of established galactic politics." Marcus nodded, reviewing the latest diplomatic updates on his neural interface. The Vrak's defeat created a power vacuum. Every major civilization is trying to figure out where humanity fits in their carefully constructed hierarchy. And our refusal to fit neatly into any of their categories is making them nervous, Sarah added. "We're too militant to be dismissed as peaceful explorers, too focused on diplomacy to be labeled as aggressors, and too advanced in some areas, while seemingly primitive in others. We're an anomaly." "Good," Marcus said firmly. "Let them be uncomfortable. It's better than being underestimated." When the session resumed, the tone had shifted. The questions became more practical, focused on trade agreements, technological exchange protocols, and military cooperation frameworks. The conclave was adapting to the reality of human presence in galactic politics. The Archon of the ancient spheres, a being so old that most species treated them with religious reverence, spoke for the first time in centuries. Their words, translated through multiple layers of technology, resonated through the chamber. The humans bring change. They think differently, act differently, prepare differently. Some see this as a threat. I see it as an opportunity. The galaxy has stagnated in its comfortable patterns. Perhaps it is time for new perspectives. The endorsement shifted the political landscape instantly. Species that had been hesitant to support Earth's membership suddenly found reasons to favor it. Even the Vrak's delegation, after a quick consultation with their homeworld, spoke in favor, though Marcus suspected this had more to do with their treaty obligations than genuine enthusiasm. As the final votes were tallied, Marcus reflected on the irony of the situation. Humanity had spent centuries imagining first contact, dreaming of joining a galactic community. Reality had proved both more complex and more interesting than any of those dreams. The vote concluded with an overwhelming majority in favor of Earth's membership. As Marcus stepped forward to accept the formal documentation, he caught sight of his sister's message on his neural interface. "Congratulations. Remember, the hard part starts now." She was right, of course. Membership in the conclave wasn't the end goal. It was just the beginning. Humanity had earned its place at the table through a combination of military strength and diplomatic finesse. Now they had to prove they deserved to keep it. As the chamber filled with the traditional songs and harmonics of welcome, Marcus prepared for the countless private meetings and negotiations that would follow. The diplomatic dance was entering a new phase, and humanity would need all its adaptability and innovation to navigate the complex choreography of galactic politics. The galaxy was changing, and humanity, for better or worse, was the catalyst. Their unique perspective, born from thousands of years of tribal conflicts, nation-states, and global politics, was about to reshape the political landscape of an entire galaxy. The real question wasn't whether the other species would adapt, but how many of humanity's lessons they would learn in the process. Evolution's edge. 5 years after Earth joined the Galactic Conclave, Admiral Helena Chen stood in the observation dome of Harmony Station, Earth's first major contribution to galactic infrastructure. The massive space station hung at the intersection of 7 major trade routes, its unique design reflecting humanity's philosophical approach to space. Every deck could be sealed and operated independently. Every system had manual backups, and gardens filled with earth plants threaded through the entire structure. Quite a view, isn't it? Ambassador Marcus Chen joined his sister, looking out at the steady stream of ships from dozens of civilizations moving through the nearby transit lanes. Hard to believe that 5 years ago, some of these species were voting against our membership in the conclave. Helena smiled, noting how several Vrax trading vessels were docking alongside Meridian freighters. Things change. Sometimes, they just need a little push. A push. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Is that what we're calling Operation Thunderstrike now? Their conversation was interrupted by Dr. Wong's arrival. The xenopolitical analyst's excitement was palpable as she joined them at the viewport. You're both going to want to see this. The Technocratic Systems just announced their new ship designs. She projected a hologram showing sleek vessels that nonetheless incorporated obvious human influences, redundant systems, atmospheric capability, and even small hydroponic sections. Helena's expression remained neutral, but her eyes sparkled with satisfaction. They're not the only ones, Marcus added. The Meridian Collective is restructuring their military doctrine. They're adopting what they call a hybrid approach, mixing AI efficiency with organic intuition. Sound familiar? Evolution finds a way, Helena mused. We didn't just change how the galaxy thinks about warfare. We changed how they think about adaptation itself. The station's alert system chimed softly, announcing the arrival of their expected guests. Supreme Commander Zarkax of the Vrax Dominion, now serving as their representative to the Joint Defense Council, entered alongside Ambassador Katal of the Meridian Collective and Archean emissary Cyril of the Technocratic Systems. Admiral Chen, Zarkax greeted, his scales shimmering with the formal colors of diplomatic engagement. Your prediction proved correct. The pirate fleet attempted to use the same gravitational warfare tactics that you employed against us years ago. I trust they were unsuccessful. Helena asked, though she already knew the answer. Completely, Kittle chimed in, her crystalline form refracting light in patterns of satisfaction. The combined defense fleet adapted exactly as the simulations suggested. The pirates expected us to be vulnerable to their stolen technology. They didn't realize we've spent the last 5 years learning from humanity's example. The group moved to the station's Strategic Command Center, where a holographic display showed the recent battle. The pirates, using outdated information, had attempted to recreate Operation Thunderstrike's tactics. What they encountered instead was a galaxy that had evolved beyond simple imitation of human methods. Look here, Cyril indicated with a mechanical appendage. The Vrax ships provided the shield wall, but with modifications based on human redundancy principles. Meridian vessels managed the gravitational dynamics, while our technocratic units handled tactical coordination. Different approaches, working in harmony. Helena watched the replay with professional interest. The pirates' strategy had been sound, if they'd attempted it 5 years ago. But the galaxy had changed. Species that once relied solely on their traditional methods now embraced adaptation and hybridization. You've all exceeded our expectations, Marcus admitted. When we joined the conclave, we hoped to find allies. Instead, we found partners willing to grow and evolve alongside us. You gave us little choice, Zarkax rumbled, but there was no hostility in his tone. The Vrax Dominion survived for 10,000 years by being the strongest military force in known space. You showed us that strength comes in many forms. Adaptation isn't just about surviving. It's about thriving. The station's gardens drew their attention as they continued their discussion. Earth plants grew alongside alien flora in carefully managed ecosystems, each species adapting to the presence of the others, creating something entirely new. That's the real lesson humanity brought to the stars, Dr. Wong observed. Not just our military doctrine or our redundant systems, but our fundamental understanding that diversity, of thought, of approach, of evolution itself, is strength. The meeting concluded with the signing of the Harmony Accords, a new framework for galactic cooperation that would have been unthinkable just years before. As their guests departed, Helena lingered in the command center, studying the tactical displays showing traffic throughout nearby space. "You're thinking about the future again," Marcus said, knowing his sister's expression. "Always," she replied. "We've helped the galaxy evolve, but we can't become complacent. There are still regions of space unexplored, questions unanswered. The moment we stop adapting is the moment we start dying." Speaking of adaptation, Marcus gestured to a notification on his neural interface. The Archon of the Ancient Spheres has proposed creating a new division within the Conclave, the Department of Revolutionary Development. "They want you to head it." Helena laughed softly. "Me? A bureaucrat?" "No," Marcus corrected. "A catalyst. They understand now what we've been trying to show them. The galaxy needs to keep evolving, keep pushing boundaries. They want someone who can challenge assumptions, question traditions, and push civilization forward." As they looked out at the steady stream of ships moving through space, Helena considered the offer. Humanity had earned its place among the stars not by conforming to existing standards, but by showing the galaxy a new way forward. Perhaps it was time to take that lesson to its next logical evolution. "Tell them I accept," she said finally, "but on one condition. I want representatives from every member species, especially the youngest spacefaring races. The next great innovation could come from anywhere. Our job is to make sure everyone has the chance to change the galaxy."